Bridging the gap between business strategy and engineering excellence, this is the 4Gigs podcast. Hello, I'm your host, Maddie. In a world where software eats the world, how you build is just as important as what you build. We are here to help CTOs and executives make smarter decisions about their tech stacks, their teams, and their timelines. Welcome to the conversation. You are listening to the 4Geeks podcast.
Welcome back to the deep dive. We are, once again, taking the sources you've sent us and really trying to transform that complex data into some concrete strategic insight.
Yeah.
And today, we were deep diving into something that, most people probably think of as just boring infrastructure.
The plumbing.
The plumbing, exactly, payment gateways. But what we found, looking at the European digital economy, it seems to fundamentally change how you should be viewing that infrastructure.
It does.
It's not just a digital utility anymore. It's not just a pipe for money to flow through. By 2026, the payment gateway is, and I mean this, arguably the single most strategic AI-powered growth engine for any digital business.
That is the core takeaway. It really is. And it's why we structured this whole analysis around sources that focus so intensely on specialization. We've been looking at all these reports on the best AI-powered payment gateways, but specifically the ones engineered for, recurring billing models, subscription models. And we're looking ahead to that really critical 2026 timeline.
So this isn't just theory.
No, not at all. We're analyzing the architectural decisions that are being made by savvy European founders, like right now.
Yeah.
And these decisions, they're going to entirely define their success or, their failure over the next few years.
Okay, so let's set the stage for you listening before we even get into the tech, the AI, all of that.
Yeah.
What defines the European commercial landscape as we get closer to 2026? What are the macro pressures forcing this big upgrade?
The sources all point to two things happening at the exact same time.
Okay.
First, the European subscription economy is. It's projected to reach just staggering new heights.
Okay.
And this massive growth isn't just because consumers want subscriptions. It's driven by these huge systemic technological shifts. But, and this is the second point, operating in that environment is becoming exponentially more complex.
Because of regulation.
Because of regulation, exactly.
So walk us through those core drivers. What are the big forces here?
Okay, so we can basically boil it down to three interconnected forces shaping the market. First, there's the move toward invisible payments, just making the whole process frictionless.
Right.
Second, you have the really rapid acceleration of what the sources are calling Agentic Commerce. We can get into that.
Yeah, we definitely need to unpack that one.
And third, the inescapable, non-negotiable tightening of regulatory frameworks, specifically the Third Payment Services Directive, PSD3.
Which is coming soon.
It's basically nearing full implementation. Yeah.
Okay, so invisible payments, agentic commerce. Those can sound like buzzwords, but the implication here seems profound. The differentiator for a business isn't just like a slightly faster website anymore.
Not at all.
It's whether their backend, their plumbing can handle these automated, invisible, and hyper-compliant transactions.
Precisely. The mission has totally shifted. For any European platform, any digital service, the goal has to be moving beyond just, accepting a credit card. You have to be actively leveraging artificial intelligence. And this AI, it has to fight both voluntary and, this is the crucial part, involuntary churn.
The silent killer.
The silent killer. And it also has to automate these incredibly complex compliance rules across different European countries all at the same time. And, on top of all that, it needs to personalize the entire checkout and relationship.
So, okay, the infrastructure has to be smart enough and autonomous enough to actively defend and run the revenue on its own. It's like an automated CFO for your billing system.
That's a great way to put it.
So that brings us to our opening challenge for you, the listener. What happens when your payment infrastructure is so intelligent, so robust, that it can literally run your recurring revenue on autopilot? We're going to unpack these shifts and look specifically at platforms like 4Geeks Payments, which, our sources suggest are architected just for this new reality.
Let's start with that fundamental technology shift, because we really are moving away from just simple processing. By 2026, our sources indicate that smart subscriptions, and that's defined by, proactive AI-driven decisioning, that will be the absolute standard.
Not a premium feature.
not a premium feature. It'll be the standard for retention and for compliance.
Okay, when you say smart subscription, that sounds expensive. It sounds complex to build and implement. Is there like a real measurable ROI for a mid-sized SaaS company to do this right now? Or is this just something for the giants, the Netflixes and Spotifys of the world?
That's a crucial question. And the ROI is immediate. It's measurable. Because the cost of not being smart is rising so fast.
Oh, okay.
A smart subscription system means the financial infrastructure is proactive, it's dynamic, it's an intelligent system that's capable of making these real-time nuanced decisions about fraud, about retry timing, compliance, all without a human having to step in.
So it's optimizing constantly.
Constantly. The whole system is designed to maximize the customer lifetime value, the CLV of every single subscriber. When you are retaining, say, 5%, 10% more revenue just from involuntary churn, all through this automated intelligence, that revenue gain pays for this system many, many times over.
So it's about making the payment system itself act like a tireless relationship manager, just constantly optimizing for revenue. And this shift you mentioned, it underpins this dominant economic model we're seeing.
It does.
The massive, broad transition from ownership to usership.
That's the macro trend that validates all of this. I mean, people are tired of owning assets that depreciate or require a ton of maintenance, whether that's, physical hardware or some clunky enterprise software license.
They just want the service.
They want access, utility, and ongoing flexible value. That usership model, you see it everywhere. From car sharing to cloud services to streaming, it's fundamentally reshaping how money flows. And when retention and continuity are your main metrics, any interruption in payment is a direct threat to your business.
I see the connection now. So if my whole business model is based on an ongoing relationship, then the tech that supports the cash flow for that relationship also has to be ongoing, proactive, and intelligent.
Exactly. And that intelligence is now being forcefully mandated by regulators.
Yeah.
Which brings us squarely to the regulatory context, the complexity of scaling in Europe, which is, integrated but also legally very diverse.
Let's talk about PSD3, the European Commission's third Payment Services Directive.
Yeah.
This is the big one, the regulatory imperative. What's its full impact as it gets closer to implementation?
Well, PSD3 is going way beyond what PSD2 started. It's enforcing significantly stricter frameworks for security, especially around strong customer authentication, or SCA.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Crucially, for real-time fraud prevention across the entire European Economic Area. The directive's goal is to slash fraud, standardize payments, and protect consumers. But for a business, well, it introduces enormous technical overhead if you don't handle it right.
Help me understand the monetary impact of not complying. I've heard about this liability shift.
This is where it gets really interesting. Under these new frameworks, if a transaction is flagged as fraudulent and the business failed to apply the mandated level of security, usually SCA, the liability for that lost money often falls directly back onto the merchant.
Not the bank.
Not the bank. It's a huge de-risking for them, but a massive new financial risk for any scaling business. So meeting these mandates, especially the real-time fraud detection, without adding so much friction that your customer just gives up, it inherently demands an AI-driven gateway.
It's the ultimate forcing function then. The regulators are saying, you must be more secure, you must use SCA unless you can qualify for an exemption.
Right.
And the only practical way to do that without, forcing multi-factor authentication for every single tiny monthly charge, which would kill your business, is by using advanced AI.
Exactly. The AI's job is to instantly spot the low-risk transactions that can be exempted from SCA, letting them just flow through invisibly.
So the AI acts as the exemption engine.
Precisely. It looks at the user's history, their device fingerprint, their location, the transaction speed. If it decides the risk is low enough, it routes the payment through with a specific exemption flag. This keeps the user experience smooth, it reduces cart abandonment, and it keeps the merchant protected from that liability shift.
Without it, you'd have to apply SCA to everything.
To almost everything, which, as we know, just absolutely kills conversion rates.
So AI doesn't just improve security, it actively protects your conversion funnel. That's a massive strategic advantage. And PSD3's impact, it's not just security and SCA, right? It also touches on local payments and taxes.
Absolutely. For platforms operating in key European markets like, say, Germany, where invoicing rules are notoriously strict.
Oh, I've heard stories.
Yeah. Or Spain, with its complex local tax declarations. PSD3 heavily influences the need to manage all of that flawlessly. A specialized payment platform has to be a dedicated, automated compliance engine. It has to know, for example, the exact VAT rate for a specific jurisdiction based on where the customer is and what they're buying, and then automatically generate a compliant invoice in the right local format.
Wow. So if the platform can do that automatically across Berlin, Barcelona, and Birmingham, that dramatically reduces the need for expensive regional accounting consultants. That sounds like leverage.
It is pure leverage.
Yeah.
So, okay, we have the economic model, usership demanding continuity. We have the regulatory pressure, PSD3 demanding smart, low-friction security. Now let's connect that to the cutting edge. Agentic commerce and invisible payments.
This concept of agentic commerce, it's still pretty new, but it really sounds like where things are heading.
It's the next frontier, and it's coming faster than most people think. We're talking about sophisticated, goal-oriented AI agents, digital workers that are empowered to execute tasks, buy services, manage cloud resources, and most importantly, pay for things on behalf of users or other systems.
These are not just chatbots.
No, far beyond that. These are autonomous systems handling mission-critical transactions.
Okay, so if my company uses a digital worker to automatically spin up or renew cloud infrastructure when traffic spikes, that digital worker needs to pay for that renewal without a human having to step in and type in a CVV code.
Exactly.
How does the payment system have to adapt to that machine-to-machine reality?
The absolute requirement is for gateways to be fundamentally API first. They have to be ready for these machine-to-machine transactions. This means the platform needs to support not just standard APIs for simple requests, but ideally modern event-driven architectures that can plug right into custom AI models or autonomous procurement workflows.
Because if the payment flow requires a human to click confirm,
the whole concept of agentic commerce breaks down. The automation stops.
So the gateway must facilitate truly invisible payments, transactions that just happen in the background, initiated by code, triggered by an AI's decision, not a mouse click.
That's it. This allows for entirely automated workflows. For example, a small business could set an AI agent to manage its CRM subscription. If the AI sees the company is about to hit a usage tier that triggers a big price jump, the agent could proactively negotiate a different plan. If the gateway supports that kind of complex automated proration logic, and then execute the payment instantly.
And the sources are saying this is a big competitive advantage.
A massive, often overlooked competitive advantage that will separate the leaders from the laggards by 2026.
Okay, we've established that AI is now. While it's mandatory for European growth, it's required for compliance, and it's necessary for the future of automation. Let's ground this by looking at the direct, tangible impact on the bottom line. Let's start with what our sources call the silent killer involuntary churn.
This point cannot be overstated. I mean, involuntary churn is when a happy, loyal customer wants to keep paying you, but their payment fails for some technical reason.
An expired card, a bank decline.
An expired card, a temporary soft decline from the issuing bank, maybe a fraud alert because they're traveling. And compared to voluntary churn, where users are actively canceling and you could ask them why, involuntary churn is this massive, under-the-radar revenue killer.
How big are we talking?
It often accounts for 20 to 40% of all monthly cancellations for subscription businesses.
20 to 40%, wow. And traditionally, the problem is that if a basic generalist gateway tries to retry the card once, maybe twice, on a fixed schedule, say every 3 days, and it fails, that's it.
That's it. That revenue is gone. Permanently. And then the company has to spend a ton of money on manual email campaigns to try and win back a customer who never even wanted to leave in the first place.
Which is inefficient and expensive. Yeah. So how does AI solve this? What is smart dunning?
Smart dunning is the AI solution. And the mechanism is where the real magic is. The AI models analyze millions of past data points from across the entire network. They're looking at failure codes, the internal rules in different banks, geographic routing successes, timing, everything, to determine the exact best moment to retry a failed card.
It's like a high-frequency trading algorithm, but for payments?
That's a perfect analogy. It's optimizing for the ideal payment window.
Help me understand the data points here. It's not just the date, right? Is it looking at like the BEN number, the first 6 digits of the card to understand the bank it's dealing with?
Absolutely. It analyzes the BEN number, the velocity, the history. It correlates the specific failure code, like a do not honor versus a temporary insufficient funds, with that specific bank's known latency patterns and its peak processing windows.
So the AI might know something like, a specific failure come from a Spanish bank means you should wait exactly 48 hours and 15 minutes.
Yes, Ian.
And try again at 2 a.m. Central European time because that's when their network traffic is lowest.
That is precisely the level of specificity we're talking about. A simple rule set just retries on day 1 day 3, day 7. A smart system knows that a retry on day 2 at 8:00 a.m. is almost guaranteed to fail because the bank's system is swamped. But 2:00 a.m. is a guaranteed success.
So it optimizes timing, frequency, and you mentioned routing.
And routing, critically. If one payment processor consistently fails with a certain bank, the AI might automatically route the next attempt through a different processor connection just to maximize the chance of success.
The result is just a huge boost in recovered revenue.
A significant and immediate boost.
Yeah.
Instead of just passively accepting that lost revenue, the AI is actively fighting to get it back.
Which translates directly into higher MRR, pure profit preservation, without acquiring a single new customer. I get it now. That's why it's a growth engine, not a utility.
Okay, moving swiftly to Pillar 2, real-time fraud prevention and its unavoidable link back to PSD3 compliance.
Right. We've said PSD3 mandates stricter security, and AI is the only way to do it without wrecking the user experience.
And the challenge of modern fraud is its sophistication and its speed. We're not talking about someone just, manually typing in a stolen card number anymore. We're talking about sophisticated synthetic fraud being launched by botnets across thousands of accounts at the same time.
And they often mimic the behavior of legitimate users.
Exactly. The sophistication is terrifying. A human analyst can't possibly tell the difference between legitimate, but maybe slightly unusual behavior, like a loyal customer logging in from a new device in Rome,
Right.
and a sophisticated fraud attack. The AI's job is to analyze these massive, complex behavioral data sets in milliseconds to spot those subtle, telltale patterns. It's processing things like velocity checks, how fast a new user is trying to make payments, and even behavioral biometrics.
So the AI is essential for meeting the directive standards, but this is that contradiction you mentioned earlier. It can't just block everything, or you get false positives and you block good customers.
It has to maintain that critical, delicate balance. It has to allow legitimate, seamless payment experiences for almost everyone, while instantly flagging and challenging the real outliers. That balance of meeting PSD3 security demands and maintaining a sub-second, frictionless user experience, it's only achievable with real-time, self-learning AI.
So if it detects high risk, it forces the user into the SCA flow. If the risk is low, it grants the exemption. It's making an intelligent, risk-based decision every single millisecond.
It's the gatekeeper that has to be both incredibly strict and incredibly invisible, which, again, is a contradiction that only machine learning can really solve in a profitable way.
Okay, that brings us to Pillar 3, automating the entire subscriber lifecycle. I think a lot of scaling companies still think of the payment gateway as just a processor.
They do, but for a subscription business, the customer relationship is constant. It's not a one-time event. The payment gateway is handling the finances of that relationship.
And the administrative complexity of managing a large subscriber base must be enormous, especially when users are constantly moving between tiers, adding seats, pausing accounts.
It's a massive operational drain. AI and specialized platforms drive the automation of this entire relationship. This goes so far beyond just processing the monthly payment. We're talking about automatically managing the start and end of free trials, processing complex upgrades and downgrades, and correctly calculating prorations when a customer changes their plan mid-cycle.
Proration is the nightmare scenario for any non-specialized finance team.
It is.
If a customer upgrades from a $50 plan to a $100 plan halfway through the month, the system has to accurately credit the unused part of the old plan and charge the right proportional amount for the new one, all while dealing with local VAT rules.
Exactly. And doing that manually is time-consuming, it's error-prone, and requires expensive accounting staff. The automated solution reduces that administrative overhead dramatically. You don't need a team of people manually adjusting invoices, issuing partial refunds, and reconciling ledgers every time someone changes their plan.
It's a fully automated, hands-off monetization workflow.
Which means the business can focus its resources where they actually generate growth, on product and on customer acquisition, not wrestling with convoluted manual billing logic.
We've established the absolute need for intelligence, agility, and specialization in the 2026 European market. So now let's take the deep dive into a platform that's architected specifically for this. 4Geeks Payments. Our sources position this platform not just as another vendor, but as the revenue growth platform.
That naming it's highly strategic because it clearly signals their core identity and their differentiation. They're positioning themselves as a specialized, agile, developer-centric alternative to the massive, often slow and generalized legacy giants.
They see a gap in the market.
They see a huge gap. They recognize that the European SaaS market is starving for a partner, not just a processor.
And what defines that critical architectural difference that lets them claim that specialized status?
The key architectural point, and our sources really emphasize this, is that 4Geeks Payments is built from the ground up specifically for subscription management and SaaS monetization. This is a profound difference compared to traditional banking gateways.
Which treat recurring billing as an afterthought.
As an afterthought, exactly. For a bank-focused generalist, running a credit card on file every 30 days is just another transaction. It's no different than a one-off purchase of a kettle.
Right.
For 4Geeks, that recurring charge is the lifeblood of the business, and every single feature is built to sustain it.
It's the difference between using, I don't know, a general purpose spreadsheet to manage your entire business versus using a dedicated ERP system designed for manufacturing. One is just optimized for the task.
Perfect analogy. And this specialization is compounded by the platform's ecosystem advantage. 4Geeks Payments explicitly leverages the broader 4Geeks ecosystem, which includes dedicated AI engineering and AI agents.
So the AI isn't just a plugin.
It's not just integrated with AI via some third-party plugin. It's built as part of a native AI development and workflow environment. The payment system is a first-class citizen in their AI ecosystem.
Okay, let's talk about the features that deliver on this promise. Feature Spotlight 1, intelligent subscription management, and the promise of autopilot scaling. This is the mechanism that lets a European SaaS company grow without imploding under administrative complexity.
Right. The autopilot capability is the platform's ability to manage the entire subscriber lifecycle autonomously. Think of it as a relentless digital administrator.
What's it doing?
Everything. The initial sign-up, all the subsequent upgrades, downgrades, cancellations, prorations, tax calculations, payment changes. It's a completely self-managing billing system driven by customized automated rules.
Okay, I have to challenge this claim from the sources. The idea of scaling from 100 to 100,000 subscribers without increasing administrative headcount, that sounds almost too good to be true. Where is the actual leverage coming from?
That's a fair challenge. You still need sales and support people, of course, but the leverage comes entirely from decoupling your growth from your billing complexity. The headcount that does not increase is the billing, the accounting, and the technical support staff dedicated solely to fixing invoicing errors, manually recalculating taxes, and chasing down failed payments.
Ah, okay. That specific team.
That team. The financial infrastructure can scale 1,000 times over without you needing to hire a single new person to handle manual billing adjustments. The impact is staggering when you consider the cost of hiring an experienced financial admin in, say, Germany or the UK.
That's a powerful promise of pure financial leverage. Okay, feature Spotlight 2. This revisits one of the most vital topics we discussed, smart dunning and revenue recovery. How does 4Geeks put its architectural advantage to work here?
Well, they use intelligent retry logic to actively protect that monthly recurring revenue, the MRR. The goal is aggressive revenue defense, not just passive acceptance. They minimize the losses from involuntary churn by combining that automated, locally compliant invoicing with the sophisticated smart retry mechanism we talked about.
So when a payment fails, the system doesn't just, put it on a list. It immediately analyzes the failure code, the customer profile, and then it triggers a personalized multi-channel recovery strategy.
Exactly. It might initiate a smart retry at the optimal time, but at the same time, it could trigger an automated email sequence, personalized and localized, maybe in Spanish, for a customer in Madrid to prompt a user to update their card.
And if they update the card?
The retry is executed instantly. If they don't, the smart retries continue based on the data. The system is actively monitoring the health of that relationship and intervening intelligently before a simple card failure becomes a permanent revenue loss.
Okay, moving to the geographical challenge. Feature Spotlight 3. Global and local compliance simplified. We established that operating a digital business across Germany, Spain, the UK, it's a regulatory labyrinth.
It's an immense hurdle for non-specialists. European VAT rules, especially for digital services, require precise calculation based on the customer's location, not the business's. 4Geeks Payments is cited as supporting global processing across these key markets, and the key is automation.
What specifically does it do to ease the burden of VAT and compliance in those markets?
Well, it seamlessly handles the multi-currency transactions and dynamic currency conversion, but crucially, it manages the full burden of automated compliant invoicing.
So in Germany, with those strict invoice requirements,
The platform automatically generates the invoice, ensures it meets all those detailed local requirements, calculates the correct VAT rate, and applies it. It essentially shifts the entire burden of multi-jurisdictional tax compliance from the scaling business onto the payment platform itself. That is a massive operational de-risker.
That level of local detail is something a generalist platform just can't offer without a ton of custom coding on the merchant side. That's a powerful argument for specialization.
Now let's talk about agility for new ventures. Feature Spotlight 4, speed and agility for MVPs.
Right. Speed is currency for a minimum viable product or when you're testing a new pricing strategy. A full API integration can easily eat up weeks of developer time.
Which is why the sources highlight 4Geeks links as a critical feature for rapid deployment. These are secure, no-code checkout forms and payment links that can be generated instantly.
Describe a practical scenario where a startup would use this.
Okay, imagine a SaaS founder in Barcelona. She needs to validate a new high-tier pricing model specifically for the German market, like next week. Instead of pulling her engineers off the core product to build a new checkout flow with German language, specific tax handling, and currency conversion.
She can generate a 4Weeks link in 5 minutes.
In 5 minutes. She sends that link directly via email or pops it onto a landing page. And she can start accepting multi-currency, locally compliant payments immediately. It lets her prove the concept and validate the pricing before sinking substantial developer time and money into a full API integration.
So you can be paid faster using all the back-end intelligence, smart dunning, compliance, but through a 5-minute activation process. That is the definition of agility.
And finally, let's look forward. Ecosystem integration with AI agents. This is the fusion of the payment infrastructure and the future of work.
Right. If the prediction holds true that these digital workers, these AI agents, will handle a lot of the business workflow by 2026, the payment system has to talk to them natively.
Absolutely. As businesses deploy these sophisticated digital workers for customer support, for sales qualification, what 4Geeks calls their AI agents, the underlying payment infrastructure has to natively understand and interact with those AI workflows. Not through some clunky webhook, but via direct integration into the same ecosystem.
Give us a specific example of that integration advantage.
Let's say a customer contact support, and it's handled by an AI support agent. The customer says, I need to upgrade my storage tier and add 2 new user seats. That digital worker needs to trigger the correct billing change, calculating the proration, issuing a new invoice, confirming the new recurring payment, and executing it instantly and flawlessly.
And if the platforms are natively integrated?
The data flow is instantaneous and reliable. If they're 2 separate systems, you've got lag, potential for errors, increased technical debt. This is critical for achieving true agentic commerce.
Okay, so now that we've established the specialized need and the capabilities of a specialized platform, we need to put this in context. The market isn't empty, and our sources give a balanced, critical view of the 2026 landscape by discussing the incumbents.
It's essential. You have to understand the strengths and, more importantly, the strategic weaknesses of the existing leaders to appreciate the choice being offered by these specialized players.
A generalist succeeds through sheer scale, but scale can also mean rigidity. Let's start with Stripe. They are the ubiquitous industry standard for developer tools. Everyone knows Stripe.
And for good reason. Stripe is universally recognized for its powerful machine learning for fraud. Stripe Radar is fantastic, and their developer tools are often cited as unparalleled. They are the default choice for a quick setup. However, the sources note some significant drawbacks for scaling European SaaS companies.
What are those drawbacks?
First, while it's easy to start with, their pricing can become really complex and unpredictable, especially as you scale and your transactions get more varied. Mixing subscriptions with one-off fees or usage-based billing.
Okay.
Second, because Stripe is a generalist, integrating subscription-specific features like complex proration rules or customized dunning logic often requires you to layer on multiple third-party tools on top of Stripe billing, or do a lot of custom code development.
So you're managing multiple vendors or building it yourself?
Which introduces technical debt and a lot of hidden costs. They give you the engine, but you have to build the entire specialized transmission yourself.
Okay, so massive power and reach, but potentially complex overhead, and a hands-off model that forces you to build your own logic.
Precisely. Then there's Adyen.
Adyen operates at an even higher altitude, often seen as the enterprise choice.
Adyen is the preferred choice for massive enterprise retailers, especially those that need omnichannel hardware and software. Think global airlines or retail chains that need to process payments both online and in physical stores. Their strength is global acquiring, treasury management, and omnichannel sync.
It sounds like they're built for companies dealing with physical logistics and huge international banking requirements, much more than a digital-first SaaS company.
Exactly. The drawback noted is that ADN is often considered overkill for a digital-first SaaS company focused purely on recurring revenue. If you don't need point-of-sale hardware, complex global acquiring relationships, and physical retail management, you are paying for a ton of capability you will simply never use.
And their complexity can delay integration.
For a purely digital company, yes.
Which brings us back to the core strategic question. Why does specialization win for the vast majority of SaaS founders? Why choose a platform built only for subscriptions over a generalist powerhouse?
It boils down to a core philosophical difference that dictates every architectural choice they make. A generalist gateway treats a subscription charge the exact same way it treats a single one-off purchase of a pair of shoes. It's a transaction. The system's goal is throughput.
Right.
A specialized platform like 4Geeks Payments treats the subscription as a relationship. The system's goal is retention, CLV, and seamless continuity. That difference drives every single feature we discussed, from the granular logic of smart dunning to lifecycle automation.
So it's an engine focused on maximizing customer lifetime value and retention, not just raw transaction volume.
And this choice is also heavily influenced by the finance and operations side of things, specifically cost and forecasting, especially in a fragmented region like Europe. Specialized platforms tend to offer radically transparent and predictable pricing.
Give us a deeper understanding of that. Why is transparent pricing so important compared to, say, a potentially lower introductory rate from a giant?
Because when you are scaling rapidly and your margins are often tight, especially in early stage days, SaaS having predictable fee structures is a significant competitive advantage. It's better than complex, layered pricing models that can just erode your margins unexpectedly as you scale into new markets or face unforeseen cross-border fees.
Right.
The sources give concrete examples of clear fee structures like 1.4% plus 0.51 in Spain and Germany. That level of clarity lets your CFO and finance teams forecast costs accurately and reliably. That's impossible if you're constantly trying to negotiate volume tiers or decipher hidden interchange fees.
Predictability is a financial superpower when you're growing.
For sure. And finally, let's revisit developer empowerment. SaaS companies live and die by their speed of innovation. The payment gateway cannot be a bottleneck.
And if the platform is built for subscriptions, that should translate directly into developer efficiency.
It absolutely does. The platform needs a true developer-first API. 4Geeks offers a robust, RESTful API that's designed to let developers integrate complex billing logic directly into their apps with minimal friction. This isn't just about making simple payment calls.
It's about the complex logic.
It's about accessing and integrating the intricate logic of managing subscriptions, upgrades, prorations, and tax compliance seamlessly into the user experience. It empowers developers to own the monetization strategy and integrate changes quickly, rather than having to work around a rigid external payment system that treats everything as a simple transaction.
So, in essence, it makes the billing engine an intrinsic part of the core application, which is necessary for managing that complex, relationship-driven monetization strategy in the compliance-heavy 2026 European landscape.
You've got it.
We have certainly taken a deep dive into what the future holds for digital commerce in Europe. As 2026 approaches, the payments landscape is making some hard, non-negotiable demands. It requires superior intelligence enforced by AI, better automated compliance mandated by PSD3, and seamless, invisible automation driven by the shift to usership and agentic commerce.
The strategic conclusion for European SaaS founders is, I think, very clear. Legacy providers offer massive processing power and universal scale, but they often lack the specialized, relationship-centric tools you need to manage the nuanced life cycle of a subscription effectively. For a SaaS business, the real financial value is in retention, relationship management, and high-degree automation, not just raw transaction volume.
So the smart choice for businesses looking to aggressively reduce involuntary churn, to fully automate their complex, localized billing, and to future-proof themselves for the next generation of AI-driven commerce. It really hinges entirely on specialization. You need a platform built for the relationship, one that views the subscriber lifecycle as a financial asset to be optimized, not just a series of charges to be processed.
Which leads us to our final thought for you, the listener, to consider based on all this.
Yeah.
If personalized recommender systems, the algorithms that understand what content you want to see next and keep you watching, are already a baseline requirement for content retention, how quickly will the personalized, relationship-driven management of billing, the system that understands precisely when, where, and how to successfully retry a payment, become the absolute, non-negotiable baseline requirement for revenue retention?
Wow.
The intelligence embedded within your payment stack is rapidly becoming the ultimate loyalty and retention program.
A truly compelling thought to end on. Thank you for joining us for the deep dive. We'll see you next time.